Hey guys, this is episode 21.
21, season 3.
Can you believe we've done 21 episodes plus like 9 learning 3Ds plus like what, 3 or 4 Smack 101s. We have like over 30 episodes already.
It's ridiculous. And this is the year 2012, the year it all ends.
Yep. And Bobby's back. I fired him for 3 months, but he's back.
I was fired, but then my own company rehired me.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
He's back. And we're here in Orlando, Florida.
Yep.
The new SmackTalk studio.
You like it? It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It spins and stuff.
Yeah.
Anywho, so we're talking about big electrics, revisiting it this time a little bit differently, right?
Yeah. We're, it's been what, a year and a half, I think, roughly, since we did electrics.
Yep.
And not a whole lot has changed in terms of like motors and like overall, like, the foundation of electrics is the same.
Yep.
Everything we taught you about how to do your math to calculate your KVs and all that stuff is the same.
Exactly.
But there's some new things.
Yep.
Speed controllers have gotten better. They have more features.
Much better.
There's a lot of things that people look for in a speed controller.
Yep.
There's a lot to talk about with speed controllers, like auto rotation bailout, like governor mode, like a lot of stuff. V-Bar has a governor now that they offer people that people can use, so they can use like a. No, they didn't. So in addition to that, there's a new helicopter coming out on the market very soon. It's called the Goblin by SAB. It uses some like stuff that we've seen years ago that never made it, but it seems like it's gonna make it this time around. So, and it kind of revolutionizes, in a way, the power system. So we're going to talk about power systems a little bit.
We'll do that.
Speed
controllers. We'll highlight some new models. We'll talk about the Whiplash as well.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about BECs, because we never talked about back when...
We didn't trust them.
We didn't trust them. When we did the episode about large electrics, we said stay away from them. Yep. Use an onboard battery. Now, BECs have evolved, and there's one in particular that we like a lot, that we trust.
Only one.
For the record, we're not even endorsed by them. We don't get them for free. We pay
I just paid
over $100 a pop.
Yeah.
But we like it, and we're going to talk about it. And there's speed controllers with BECs now as well, and I've heard really good things about them. So we're going to kind of,
It'll be lots.
enhance on what we talked about a year and a half ago.
And there's a bunch more to talk about too, in terms of lipos, connectors, chargers and everything. We're going to put that all in a big mega episode later.
Yeah.
Because we can't combine it now.
We're going to do an episode about chargers, and we're going to talk in that episode about the chargers, about the balancing, about soldering, how to solder the different connectors.
Next time.
Everything, yeah. We will take a full hour talking about that. That'll be quite a boring episode, but this one actually will be fun. So we're going to talk about ESCs, BECs. We're going to talk about the Whiplash.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the SAB Goblin.
Yep.
So.
And then we're gonna watch this thing here.
Yeah.
Watch it spin. Hold on, wait for it. Cool. All right, Smack Talk 21. All right, let's go. New intro. Ooh, check it out.
Let's talk about speed controllers.
Let's do it.
Well, basically, we want to tell you about the most popular speed controllers first.
Yep.
There's 100 speed controllers out there.
Plenty of them.
Just there's so many of them.
Thousands.
Do you trust them all?
I don't trust any of them.
No, I don't trust any of them. The thing with the speed controller is so intricate. It's such an intricate piece of electronic. There's so much going on. We kind of talked about speed controllers when we did the original Large Electrics episode. So if you haven't bought that one, go ahead and buy it.
Number 5, by the way.
Yeah.
Episode number 5.
But, there's so many things that happen in a speed controller. And you know, a lot of speed controllers, especially what's happening is there's so many different motors, so many different batteries, so many different cell counts, and so many different setups that it's almost impossible for a speed controller manufacturer to make their controller compatible with everything that's out there. Different motors with different inductance, and different motors with different pole counts, different KVs, different setups. You guys, some people are crazy and put like ridiculous gear ratios that are not even suitable for flight, where they blow stuff up. So speed controllers are the most vulnerable, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Part of an electric helicopter. They're far more vulnerable than a motor or a battery or a servo or anything else for that matter.
Definitely. Now there's a bunch of them here. So we've got 3 listed here, but at the same time there's thousands, like Bert said, there's thousands of them.
Yeah,
most of them work. Hobby Wing, Eagle, all sorts of various Asian
But these are what I wouldn't say we endorse, but we sort of recommend.
These
because
are the 3 we see the most in the
and we see the most everywhere,
Yeah, so
and I've personally flown them all 3. I think Bobby's flown.
I've flown all 3 at some point. It might not be my helicopter.
Yeah. I'm currently flying actually all 3 of them, and but most importantly Castle and Scorpion. But what do you look for in a speed controller? Well, number 1, reliability.
Reliability. If it catches on fire, if it breaks my helicopter, I'm not too interested.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if it catches on fire and it breaks your helicopter, you can't go back to the speed controller manufacturer and demand that they pay for your helicopter.
Exactly.
Don't be that guy. I've seen that happen before.
Don't be a jerk.
No. When you buy a piece of electronic, you're assuming the risk of anything that could happen. It's like you buy this TV and it, I don't know, fails, and it, I don't know, catches on fire and burns my house. I can't go to Sharp and tell them that they need to pay for my house.
You could, but you'd be that guy.
Yeah, you'd be that guy. So what to keep in mind? Well, reliability.
Yep.
And out of these 3, I hate to say it, but I can't really say it in terms of what's happening today. But over the past several months, perhaps the most unreliable was Castle.
Yep.
And
with the ice, and unfortunately they got called in on a lot of fires and stuff.
Yeah.
The ice is caught on fire. But here's the thing: they did the right thing. They fixed it. So if you have an ice out there, Castle ice, you can send it back for free, and they'll send you an ice too.
They will.
And they'll replace it. And so far, I haven't heard of any of these catching on fire. So
no, I haven't heard of any of the Ice 2 having any problems.
Yep.
I've heard of some random problems, like with any other controller, where like it won't start or it would do, but I've yet to see one that actually ignites or catches on fire. I'm not going to go into detail as to what happened with them. We know the full story. It was beyond Castle's control, really, but they're doing the right thing. They're replacing the controllers, and I know firsthand from a lot of people that they've sent their Castles, their Ices, and they've gotten them replaced. It takes a while. It takes several weeks. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you guys had a problem, they'll replace them for you. Now, one beauty about this controller is that it's got the most features of any other controller,
and it's easy. It's very easy to do everything on the computer. It's super simple.
This thing, in terms of features, let's get that correct, kills the other 2 just because it has the most amount of features.
But these are also kind of different. These will work with various systems like a V-bar. They have reliable BECs. There's all sorts of different things. So we're going to talk about all that.
We're going to talk about all that. So at the end of this episode, you should be able to make your own decision based on what we have to tell you in terms of what these controllers do. Like, for example, like that guy over there, the Contronic controller, has the best Governor Mode of any controller I've ever seen. Far better than this and this.
Agreed.
But it lacks some of the features that these guys have. So you have to kind of put it in perspective and make a decision. Well, what do I prefer the most? This feature or that feature? And kind of, you're not going to get the best of all worlds on any of these.
That one would go here.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't exist yet.
Not yet.
So, but they're all pretty solid. They're all pretty reliable. And they're great products. Contronic's made in Germany. This guy right here, the Commander Scorpion, is made in China, Hong Kong. And Castle is made in the U.S. It's obviously made out of
various
foreign components, but it's made in the U.S. So we're going to go into detail and talk a little bit more about these guys.
More detail.
Okay, guys, I'm going to talk to you about ESCs in general, like what to look for on an ESC. So this is, to me, personally, what I would look for in an ESC. These are the most popular speed controllers. Like we stated before very quickly, the Castle Creations Ice 2, the original Ice had some issues. Stay away from the original Ice. Make sure it's an Ice 2. If you're buying an Ice controller used from the internet or whatever, and it's an original Ice, do it at your own risk. Get the Ice 2. Contronic Jive and the Heli Jive. They're both great. I'm going to very briefly tell you the differences between the two. And the Scorpion Commander. There's a brand new one out there. I'm also going to talk about it very briefly. Some controllers have BEC, some don't. The Heli Jive and the Jive have a BEC. The brand new Commander version 5 that is just about to hit the market, if not now just hit the market, has a BEC. Castle Creations does not have a BEC built in, not the Ice 2 HV controllers. So you need to make arrangements to have your own BEC. We're going to talk about BECs later. Another thing that you need to look for in a speed controller, that I personally look for, is the bell out. And does it really have an auto rotation bell out? Nowadays, it's not even a matter of like auto rotating. It's a matter of having the ability to spool up when you need to very, very quickly. If you don't have a bell out feature and you try to do an auto and you screw up, you're screwed because you're not going to bell out. Some of the original speed controllers, for example, the Jive, the Contronic Jive, does not have a bell out. So when you do an auto rotation, you're committed. It's over. Once you hit that throttle hold, it's going to take like 10 seconds for that thing to spool back up. So if you screw up, you're on the deck. You're on the ground. And we talked about that on the auto rotations episode, which you're more than welcome to download if you haven't watched that yet. So make sure that you have a bell out. It's always good to have. The new Heli Jive has it. The Commander from Scorpion has it. The version 5, the new one, as well as the older one as well. They both have it. And of course, Castle Creation has that as well. Can the bell out be configured, or can it be customized? Very few of them can. The only one that can is the Castle Creations. And by configuring or customizing the bell out, what I mean by that is, can you adjust how quickly that bell out comes in? Some speed controllers or some governors have a very aggressive like bell out sort of function where, like, if you hit the throttle hold and say you're doing an auto rotation and you come down and you're actually at the point where you're still at sort of a safe altitude where you can bell out, but your head speed is really, really, really low, when you bell out, that thing's going to yank on the helicopter so hard that it's almost guaranteed that it's going to strip your main gear. Some of them are a lot softer. The Castle Creations, the Ice 2, is the only one that I know that you can actually adjust that, and Bobby's going to talk about that later. The timeout, does it time out? By timeout, what I mean is when you hit the hold, do you have a certain amount of time before you can bell out? The Castle Creations is the only one that allows you to do an auto rotation, and literally you can auto rotate for 10 minutes if you could. It's not possible, of course, but you could hit the hold, wait 10 minutes, release the hold, and it's going to spool back up. On the Heli Jive, as well as the Commander, the Scorpion Commander, you have a certain amount of time after you hit the hold to bail out. If you pass that amount of time, you're screwed, because when you bail out, it's not going to bail out. It's going to go back to a soft or slow spool up. So that's something really important to consider there as well. Now again, if you look at the three speed controllers here, the Castle, my person here is slow today. If we look at our three speed controllers, again, briefly, the features. The Heli Jive, which is the newest on the market, it's got the very best possible like governor mode that you can imagine. Like, the governor is just flawless. It works perfectly. Like, there's no when you do, say for example, a tail slide, it doesn't accelerate and overspeed, and then it doesn't slow down. It's very consistent. Excellent governor system. It's very pricey, very expensive. Made in Germany, very good technology, but very expensive. I'm not quite sure. I think it's past $400, maybe even $500. Not exactly sure, but it's definitely the most expensive out of these three. Other than that, it has a built-in BEC, which is great. You can plug the BEC into your receiver or your flybirless system or whatever you're using and drive your servos with it. Works really well. It's a solid speed controller. The Scorpion Commander, the brand new version 5, also has a BEC. Both of the BECs from the Contronic and the Commander, they're both rated up to a peak of 15 amps. Use it to drive your servos as well. It works very well. It has auto rotation bell out. It's high voltage, of course. It's 130 amps, so it can handle a lot of loads. I have one of my Goblins set up with the Scorpion Commander. Great controller. And then finally, again, the Castle. It has the most customizable pretty much software of any of these three guys. You can set up your head speeds. You don't have to worry about really anything. It's like Bobby said before, it's easy to set up. It does not have a BEC, so you have to make arrangements to have an onboard battery or a BEC, but it does have a lot of good features. You can set your head speed on it and it'll basically lock you into that head speed. You don't have to worry about using a tack to measure what your head speed is or set up your throttle curve and change your percentages to get the desired head speed. It does it all for you. It's got some graphs where you can download it. It's got a logging capability where you can just basically save the logs, look at the graphs and see how much current you're using and all kinds of stuff. We're going to elaborate on that. But basically, once again, these are the three most popular speed controllers out on the market, and hopefully the next few segments will help you make the right decision as to what you need to buy or what you'd like to buy.
So now it's time to bring you guys information regarding the Governor Mode. Now, if you watched our episode 5, a year and a half ago, we didn't really touch upon Governor Mode too much. If I recall at the time, I was pretty new to big electrics. I know Bert's been dabbling in them for a while. But when we were flying, the fixed endpoints mode was really the way to go, where you just kind of fly at 80% throttle curve, 90% throttle curve, even 100% throttle curve the whole time. And then as good of a battery as you had, that was your performance. So in the beginning of the flight, your head speed would be 2600. At the end, you'd be at 1800. Well, here we got Governor Mode. What does Governor Mode do? Well, Governor Mode allows you to gear your helicopter more aggressively than you would flying in a fixed endpoints mode. And this allows you to have the same head speed and performance the entire flight. So in the beginning of the flight, it's really holding back a lot of voltage. Then during the middle, it's a little bit more closer to where the head speed naturally wants to run. And at the end, it's fighting a little harder to give you more head speed. So Governor Mode is really, really good for you guys. Let's say you don't want to spend too much money on batteries. You can run a cheaper battery and gear it up a little bit more, and you can get the same performance you would get running a really expensive battery under fixed endpoints mode. I like Governor Mode. Bert likes Governor Mode. So let's talk a little bit about the Governor Mode for each of the three controllers that we are talking about. So here we have, once again, Jive, Scorpion Commander, and the Castle Creations 160. So how do the Governor Modes work for each of them? I'm very familiar with the Castle Creations, and I'll talk about that one first. That one's very easy to set up. You go in your computer, you set it up, everything's super duper easy. It's all in your Castle link. Just bring a little computer with you to the field, and you can set it up. Now, honestly, just honest feedback, the Governor Mode on here, it's okay. I'm hearing they're working on new versions, in terms of performance. I'm hearing they're working on new versions that are better. But if you do a tail slide with this Governor Mode, you're going to overspeed probably 30% of your head speed. Some helicopters might not be able to handle that, so keep that in mind. In terms of performance, we're seeing that the Contronic, the Jive, and the Heli Jive have the best performance there by far. Now, the Scorpion Commander, from what I'm hearing from Bert, it's about in the middle somewhere. It holds pretty well. Now, the way you set up this one versus the way you set up these guys are a little bit different. This one, you go into your Castle link and you set up your gear ratio, you type in your cell count and everything, you type in your head speed that you want. All your transmitter does is just a dummy to say, hey, I'm in idle up 1, hey, I'm in idle up 2, and it does what it needs to do to make you have the correct head speed. These guys are a little bit different. If you set these up using a crummy pack, let's say you've got an old 25C pack and you tack your head speeds using your throttle curves in order to get your head speeds, you're going to notice a difference as to when you plug in a battery with a lot more power. So these are a little bit more finicky on the setup. That's really about it. And for you V-Bar users out there, which I hear there's a bunch of you guys, there's various speed controllers that you can use with the V-Bar Governor in order to make Governor Mode work on your helicopter. Now, Bert shows in full detail how to set this up in episode 14, so check that out. But here, for a brief overview, here's what we got. Castle Creations. It has a very slow refresh rate, so honestly, it really makes no sense to run a Castle Creations speed controller with a V-Bar Governor. This Governor works just fine, so if you got a Castle and a V-Bar, just run the Castle Governor, no problem. Now onto these guys. If you're running a Heli Jive or the new Scorpion Commander, the 130 amp series, those are compatible with the V-Bar Governor, but you do need a phase sensor. Now, a phase sensor plugs in line to one of your 3 wires coming out to the motors. It's like 15 bucks. I believe Hyperion is the main manufacturer of these phase sensors. Plugs right in, that plugs into your sensor port of the V-Bar Governor, and there, you can kick a goal and you can get Governor Mode with your V-Bar Governor. Now, I've seen them work, and the V-Bar Governor works very fine, although someone tells me that they do strip gears from time to time, and the bailout's a little aggressive. You can't change the bailout with the V-Bar Governor. You can change the bailout on this guy. This guy is really customizable when it comes to your bailout features. It can ramp up slowly, it can ramp up fast if you want it to. Lots of different things to set. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind with the Governor Mode. This is what we're recommending for everything. So honestly, if you just want a cheap plug-and-play system, here's the way to go. If you want excellent governing, no budget, that guy. If you want a little bit in between with a really new product that you may or may not be able to get, this guy. A, B, or C. Which one do you choose? That's Governor Mode. Now it's time for the next segment.
Hey guys, I'm going to enhance a little bit more about what Bobby talked about governors. Like Bobby was saying, V-Bar Governor, this is sort of like one of the basic screens that you get when you're setting up your V-Bar if you're a V-Bar user. I don't know if Bobby mentioned the fact that the beauty of running the V-Bar Governor for all of you guys that are flying V-Bars is the fact that you can buy a cheap speed controller. Like I've seen people flying the Hobby Wing or Hobby Hot or what's it called? Hobby King or whatever cheap speed controller. I've seen people fly, $60, $70, Chinese made speed controllers that have either no governor or really crappy governor performance, and they plug it into their V-Bar with the phase sensor like Bobby said, and they have a really good governor now. So it's a really good advantage. So if you're a V-Bar user, episode 14 talks about the V-Bar, and I'm explaining in depth how to set the V-Bar governor. But basically you have an electric as well as a nitro governor function here. You set it up, you set up your channel from the receiver where you're plugging in your throttle and your sensor and everything else. Then you can set this up, and the V-Bar governor works exceptionally well. It's practically as good as the HeliJav governor, if not even better. The only drawback that I see with the V-Bar governor is that it's not very easy to set up. It's a little bit complicated in sort of intricate way. And it doesn't have, you can't adjust the auto rotation bail out feature. Once you're committed to the auto rotation, if you bail out, it's got a certain amount of time that it takes for it to bail you out. And sometimes it's a little bit too aggressive. Now, moving on next, the Castle Governor. This is awesome. Like we were talking before, Bobby explained to you. Once you set up the governor on the HeliJav or the Scorpion Commander, what you do is you hover your helicopter, you get your head speed with the tack. And you adjust your throttle curve. Ideally what you want to do is you want to have a flat throttle curve. Say that you start at 80%. You tack the helicopter. Head speed is a little low. You bump it up. Head speed is a little high. You drop it down. If your batteries change, in other words, if you end up flying a pack that is not as strong or a set of batteries that are not as strong, later, after you've tweaked your governor, your head speed might not be exactly the same. So if you've tacked it at, say, 2200, and now you're flying packs that are just not as strong, now you're not getting 2200 anymore. You're getting 2140 or 2180 or 2100 or 2170. That is sort of just the nature of how they work. With the Castle one, much better in the sense that what you do is you have actually a screen where you dial in the head speeds that you want. And once you calibrate the head speeds, Castle knows, based on the gear ratio you tell it, what's doing. Another advantage of the Castle speed controller, if you look right here, head speed change rate. This is what we were talking about before. When you do an auto rotation, when you go bail out, this is how fast the bailout happens. Bobby and I run this at the maximum, so we change this from medium to custom and we bump it up to 20. And that's, I'm thinking about 1 second to 1.5 seconds of bailout, maybe 2 seconds. If you want a less aggressive bailout because you have a helicopter with a weak powertrain that strips gears easily, then drop it. Medium is pretty low. I would recommend at least a 12 to a 15 right here. You set it to custom and you set 12 to 15. Now moving on to the next screen here. On the Castle, like I was explaining, you dial your head speed. So basically you tell the Castle system what pinion you have, what main gear size you have, and then you tell it the kVA of the motor and the pulse in the motor. Castle does this magic math, you know, and it sort of calculates everything for you. And then, going back to the previous screen that we were at before, right here you dial in the head speeds. And what you do is you set 30% flat curve for normal mode. So your normal mode throttle will be 0, 30, 30, 30, 30. Then you set 70% for idle up 1 or 100% for idle up 2. And when you're in normal mode, it'll go to this beat, idle up 1 to this beat, idle up 2 to this beat. You don't have to worry about using attack or anything else. Now let's go forward again. Next screen right here. And another great feature of the Castle, this has nothing to do with the Governor, but this is a great feature that no other speed controller has that I know of, is the data logging feature. With Castle, you can log all kinds of stuff. I mean, it shows you a graph, but in addition to the graph, you can see everything from voltage to the ripple. Ripple meaning how much your battery, your cell voltage is fluctuating throughout the flight, to how much current or amps you've pushed, to the amp hour consumption, to watts, which it does basically the math of, like we explained in episode 5, volts times amps, to the temperature of the speed controller, to the RPM of your disc based on how you calibrate it, to the amount of throttle that you're pushing in, that the system is pushing in to maintain your head speed based on your Governor settings. And another really cool thing about this is when you actually look at this graph, you can diagnose a lot of problems with your helicopter and a lot of different things that you can actually get out of looking at this graph. And you can reset it without even plugging the computer in. There's ways to do that. Of course, you can consult your Castle manual for that information. We're going to go into that sort of extent, but great software here. It's amazing. It really works very, very well. So I think that does it for you know, a little bit more in depth about how the Governors work and you know, what features to look for in a Governor. We're here at Graves RC in Orlando, Florida. This is Mark Graves. What's up, Mark?
Not much. How are you, Bert?
I'm doing good. He hates the camera filming stuff. Mark is a good friend of mine. I met him, I don't know, 6 years ago. This is the famous Graves RC Hobby Shop. This is where I bought my very first helicopter. It was a Hummingbird fixed pitch. It was a piece of junk. And Mark kind of helped me, actually not as much with that, but he kind of helped me with getting into the hobby and you know, recommended helicopters to get and helped me wrench. And actually I learned a lot from him back in the day. So do you get a lot of customers here for helicopter only stuff?
We get a lot of people that want to get into the hobby and do helicopters first. But we got airplanes, cars, boats, everything.
What is like the highest selling stuff in the shop? It's definitely not helicopters, right? It's more cars?
No, it's not going to be helis because those are the most technical. I would say probably cars would be the easiest, and most people are doing cars.
And they have a huge car department, which we'll show you on video. But let's go inside. And as you can see here, this is the helicopter area. There's all kinds of stuff. He stocks Raptor parts, Align parts, all kinds of Align parts. Everything from like T-Rex 250 size to T-Rex 700 size. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff. Canopies, like tools, like you name it. And even like some like vintage kits way up there. Like they even have still like miniature aircraft. Like anything you want, you can come out here and get. So this is really, really cool. How long has the shop been in business, Mark?
My dad started it in 91. I came on board in 93. And this is our third location and probably our last location. We got this one in 96.
And you've been doing like in charge of the helicopter stuff like ever since the beginning, right?
From the get-go. Yeah, initially we didn't have a helicopter department. I didn't fly, nobody else did. And I started off with a Hirobo shuttle and slowly worked my way up.
And then like what's up with all the planes hanging? Like are they all for sale?
Everything's for sale. We own them. There's about 400 airplanes hanging from the ceiling. There's some more at home. So.
Is your dad a hoarder?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Nice. And what do you do when you start drinking? What's this thing you do? Show the viewers. Come on, show it.
I don't know if you mean that. Is that what you mean?
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Now, if you recall in episode 5, which we assume you've already taken a look at because we've mentioned it so many times this episode, we mentioned that we weren't very comfortable with using BECs, a battery eliminating circuit. Now, in a nitro, you need a battery. You need to be able to run your servos and run your nitro motor. But in an electric, there's a device called a BEC, battery eliminating circuit, which will allow you to run your servos and your receiver power using your main flight packs. Now, at the time, we didn't trust anything. Honestly, we really didn't trust anything. But if you take a look at the controllers that we're talking about this time, a few have BECs that are built in that actually work pretty darn well. The Jive and the Heli Jive, as well as the Scorpion Commander version 5, they all have a 15 amp peak BEC, which means that it'll operate your servos and everything using your main pack. All you have to do is charge one pack, you plug it in, you're done. Castle doesn't have anything. So if you want to use the Castle, you've got to use a spare regulator and a LiPo battery if you're not using a high voltage setup, or a A123 or a NiCad or a NIM, whatever. So you need to run something else besides here. But these work pretty well. So if you're using a Castle or another El Cheapo speed controller that doesn't have a built-in BEC, there's only one right now that Bert and I are finding that we personally trust. We give you Hercules. Hercules BEC. It's made by a company called Western Robotics, made in Canada. They're about $100. This thing is good for anything from 3S to 14S. Huge range here, and it's a maximum peak of 15 amps when you're using 14S. Obviously, if you're using a lower voltage, you'll have more battery to run it. All you have to do is solder in the positive and negative in line to your battery, and you're good to go. I really like these. I've been using these on the Whiplash and the Furion 6 a lot, and I trust them. I've crashed them a bunch. I've flown them. They're adjustable voltage. You can change them from 4 volts to straight up unregulated LiPo. So we really like these. We've also heard that the Castle Creations BEC, the new version, works well. We haven't flown them yet, but this is the one that we recommend. So that's BECs for you. You make your own call. And now it's time for us to tell you about some new and emerging helicopters. So first, I'm going to talk about the Whiplash, and more importantly, some of the powertrain details and whatnot. So Whiplash powertrain. No, not wing and pinion. No. Whiplash powertrain. Yeah, that's it. The Whip-de-doo. Or the Whippy. All right, lots of names out there for it. This is the Whiplash miniature aircraft. I designed this sucker along with my partner in crime out there in Montana, Chris Lund. We made it all three. It's an electric, nitro, gasoline. The electric's the only one out there, out the door right now, which you can buy. We made it. It's very simple. A lot of the parts are interchangeable between nitro, gasoline, electric. It holds up. I've crashed it many times, and it really holds up pretty well. Now the powertrain. The powertrain, it is a direct drive, I guess you could say. It is the motor, and so it's just a simple pinion, and it's a main gear, and the pinion drives the main gear, and you go. Now, we've got a few really cool features in there which I tend to like in helicopters. So for instance, the Gaui X5 has this. I think the Rave has this. There's a lot of models out there. I like this. It's the fact that the motor mount bolts to a main gear bearing block. It really makes it rigid, and we really like that. Second of all, we really like what's called a counterbearing. The counterbearing is on the other side of the pinion, and it supports either the pinion or the motor shaft at the bottom. This allows it not to flex, and for the most part, your main gears won't strip due to this. So I prefer the simple powertrain setup as opposed to some of the other models, which we'll show you here in a bit. I think it works really well. Really simple, rugged, yeah, the whip-de-doo, it's cool. So that's what we like. The whip-de-doo, it's good stuff. So yeah, I really like it. What are you doing?
And there's another model too. Get rid of the whip-de-doo here. Oh, no, I didn't ask for chicken wing and pinion. I asked for the Goblin. I've gotten a lot of requests from a lot of people wanting to know more about the Goblin. I've had requests to do an episode about the Goblin. Well, we really can't do a full hour talking about the Goblin because, I mean, it's an awesome machine. It really is, and I love to do a full hour about it. But I don't think there's enough to talk about because it's a very simple machine. I could probably go over this machine in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. The Goblin uses a very non-conventional, I guess you could say, powertrain. Talking about powertrains, and as you can see here, the powertrain is just quite unique. I remember years ago we sort of experimented with this type of stuff. I used to fly for miniature aircraft back when the previous owners were around, Tim Scunard, and he had this crazy idea to do a belt-driven powertrain system, and he actually deployed that, and he made it available on the Ion X2. The Ion X2 was never famous, was never popular, I guess you could say. He probably sold like 20 units in like 2 years. It was a total disaster. But you know, it was a great machine. The reason why I never really sold is because at the time the market wasn't looking for a high-end electric powered helicopter. The market was actually starving for a low-end, cheap, easy to operate and inexpensive helicopter. And Align released their first 600 electric, their T-Rex 600, the original T-Rex 600 electric back in those days, which used to fly with a 6S battery, and it was very inexpensive, and people just jumped on the T-Rex bandwagon, and they just didn't care about $1,000 to $1,500 helicopter. Now the trend is changing. Now people have seen what cheap is. People have flown cheap machines. They're all over the place. Align has been incredibly successful, and they have a pretty good machine. But now people are wanting higher quality, more unique sort of type of machine, and they're willing to pay the extra money to get that unique machine, unique setup. So going back to the powertrain, Goblin uses a belt. So there's what we call a two-stage gear system. You got your motor, which what you do is you attach a pulley to the motor shaft, and then a belt runs from that pulley to a secondary pulley, which goes up to a pinion that drives your main gear. There's a lot of advantages to this setup. There's some disadvantages, but overall the advantages are: number one is very, very quiet. Number two is very sort of easy to install, replace pinions or pulleys on the motor, because you don't have to screw around with meshes that are so critical. You basically tighten up your belt and you're good to go. Number three, you have an incredible range of gear ratios. I mean, the Goblin can fly anything from like a 350 kV motor to like a 1000 kV motor, where most electrics of this size are not capable of doing that. And to wrap things up with the Goblin, again, I get so many questions. Very unique design, very different. Enrico, the designer from SAB, just really had some interesting, to say the least, ideas. Carbon fiber boom, tail belt driven helicopter. The tail is actually quite responsive. He went and used very, very big pulleys to drive the tail belt, which gives it a lot more surface area to engage, and it gives the tail more response. Tail boom has like almost practically no flex at all. It's very, very strong. And it's got some pretty cool elements, and we're going to talk more about the Whiplash as well as the Goblin here in the next few segments. But that does it for new and emerging models. Hey guys, we're here at the beautiful Torches field, the famous field for the Orlando blowout. And I have the SAB Goblin here with me. I get a lot of requests about this helicopter. People want to know more about it. There's a lot of people that seem to be excited about the release. To me, it's a great machine. I'm enjoying it very, very much. So I'm going to give you my sales pitch on it. Totally. I'm going to try to sell you the machine. As you can see, the designer, like we talked about earlier, just kind of went out of his way to make something that is completely different from anything that anybody's ever seen before. If you pay close attention to this, you look at this up here, everything is like right here. Like you have a main CNC aluminum plate that carries your powertrain, your servos, your head, like everything, your transmission, like everything is right here, even your electronics. And then down here, you just have two side frames. They're going along for the ride. They're basically holding your battery and your speed controller, and that's all they do. They don't do anything else. So a few like interesting concepts here. A lot of people say, well, these pitchlings are a copy from Compass. I'm not going to get into details about that. These things were actually prototyped many, many months ago before they were even shown. So this actually has been around for a little while. And the way that the designer of SAB did these pitchlings is a little bit different from the Compass. If you look at them, the way they work, it's the same concept, but it's really a different design. Of course, by having this, you don't need an anti-rotation anti-rotation bracket. You don't need your elbows or your radial arms or any of that. So it minimizes some of the stuff up in the head. Moving down, as you can see, there's only 3 rods, slash plate to servo, very, very close, very easy to set up. Absolutely 0 interactions for the flybirless system. You don't have belt cranks, you don't have any of that stuff that complicates the setup, makes it more difficult and more work to repair after a crash. Very, very easy. Then moving down, you have your main gear. I've had questions whether this is metal. No, it is not metal. You really shouldn't have metal to metal. This is a POM material, like what we all use for main gears pretty much, and of course it's meshed into a slant pinion. The pinion is of course steel. And then going down, we have our big pulley right here with a big belt going down to the motor pulley. Like we were explaining before, there's an unlimited number of sort of gear ratios that you can run with this setup, because you can change the pulley by changing the pulley in the motor. You can actually like accommodate any motor from like a 300 to 400 kV all the way up to like 1,000 kV motor. So that's it for our powertrain. Moving down, like I said, we have our side frames, and then of course the batteries just load. There's no quick, easy release or anything like that, like other manufacturers. You just put your battery in there, just put your next battery, and then you have these O-rings, and then you strap them around. So the whole battery installing process is actually pretty quick and easy. I personally prefer this over a quick mount system. It's just easy to access. You don't have to like feed batteries in between boom supports through the back of the machine, or none of that nonsense. You just put your battery, you strap it, and you're good to go. Finally, let's see what else. Here's our landing gear, carbon fiber landing gear. You know, it's easy to break, and it's supposed to be easy to break so that it preserves your frames. And then the most interesting part about this helicopter is the boom. This is all a solid piece of carbon fiber, all the way from the front to the back. You have a belt riding inside this piece of carbon fiber. The boom is attached to the main, what I guess you could call the mother plate or whatever. It's the main CNC aluminum plate that I told you about before. It's attached to it. It's got these channels, and basically use nylon bolts. So the whole purpose of this is that if you crash, the nylon bolts will break, the boom will break away, and it will save itself. Aside from that, it's kind of clamped on these 2 bolts right here. And I have 3 crashes on this helicopter for all of you guys that watched the crash from the Orlando helicopter blowout. This is a spectacular crash. When I crashed it, believe it or not, the boom survived. As you can see, this boom's got scratches everywhere. It's been crashed 3 times, and I've yet to break it. And then moving on to the tail, pretty simple tail design right here. You got pretty much 2 side plates, carbon fiber side plates on the tail, and these 4 bolts here dictate the belt tensioning. So you loosen this up and you adjust your belt. Pretty simple and straightforward hub and blade grip system with the slider, and then finally, this is a cool feature too. Right here on the other side, you have a tensioner pulley. And basically this tells you exactly where your tail belt needs to be. This is pretty much about where you want it to be. You don't want it like this, you don't want it like this, you want it right about there. So when it comes to adjusting your tail belt tension, it's really, really easy. It's a no-brainer. You don't have any more pulleys. That's the only pulley you have to tell you about your tension. As you can see, like you have a lot of engagement on the tail belt in the front right here. It's a pretty big pulley. And then you have a really, really big pulley back here, all the way back into the tail. And what that does is that gives the whole tail system more sort of leverage, I guess you could say. So it's got a pretty solid tail, considering the fact it's belt driven. Aside from that, the booms will come just as you see it. It's really easy actually to assemble a boom. I think they're going to run about $60 or $70. What you do is you get the boom, it's painted, it's ready to go. You put your servo in there. It comes with these little plastic inserts that are threaded. So you stick your servo in, you thread your servo in, and then in this guide right here to hold your boom support, same deal. It slides right in and it's threaded, and you put these 2 bolts, and then you install your tail. So it's a really, really easy to work with helicopter. You don't have to mess with like a front tail case and tail gears and boom supports and horizontal fin or clamps or none of that stuff. It's like very minimalistic. There's hardly any parts on this thing. Other than that, ever since the blowout, we discovered some issues and we made some changes. Now we have a brand new spindle that's working really well, and we've widened the head block. And what we did with that is we're actually now able to run even lower head speeds without running the risk of having a boom strike. The beauty of this helicopter is like it's got a very, very high tail gear ratio, even though a lot of people don't kind of like that, because a lot of people that want to fly high head speeds prefer to have a lower tail gear ratio. This thing will handle anywhere between 1600 and 23 to 2400 head speed with perfect tail. Like I can fly it 3D at 1700 RPM and do a fast, hard, like sideways moves, and the tail stays put. It's rock solid. So I think that's it for the Goblin. I don't know if you guys notice, I get this question a lot. There's this little thing right here. It's actually like for you guys to fly Spectrum systems, you know that Spectrum transmitters and receivers are more vulnerable to ESD or electrostatic discharge. I grounded the boom pretty much from here to here, and then I took another piece of wire and I grounded the boom pretty much from here, from a little bolt right here that runs through the carbon fiber, and it dumps into the negative terminal in the battery. I don't think you need to do it. I did it as a preventive measure. I don't think you need to do it because when I check for continuity, I check all the way from here to like the very front of the helicopter, and there's plenty of continuity because it's all interconnected and it's all carbon fiber and aluminum. So, you know, it's just a precautionary measure. If you guys fly Futaba or high tech or anything else, I guess you don't have to worry about it. So we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a spin. This is my canopy. This thing's been beat up. Like this is also the one that crashed at the blowout. But as a testament to how strong this thing is, it's still around and I'm still flying it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it for a quick flight. You guys have seen a lot of the flights and videos of the Goblin, so it makes no sense to just do a full flight. But I'm gonna fly for like a minute and kind of show you how cool it is in the sense that it flies with very, very low head speed very well and with high head speed as well. So let's go ahead and do it. All right guys, here we go. I have actually pretty low head speed in my normal mode, and I have a normal mode at 30% on my Castle Creations controller here, so I can go into the negative side in normal mode as well. This is like 1600. It's gonna wobble pretty bad because I need to soften my dampening. So you can see it's got a little bit of a wobble at 1600. It's a little annoying. But if you soften your dampening, which is very easy to do, SAB is going to have softer dampeners for this kind of stuff as well. But even with the little bit of a wobble, I can do like mild sort of things at 1600. You can hear the Castle Creations Governor kind of letting go. And as you can see, like even on sideways stuff, tail is just holding pretty good at like 1600 RPM. My next speed here is 1800. I actually like this head speed for basic everyday practice. Like if I'm practicing something new with it, like it's really cool because it gives me enough power to try some like basic 3D stuff. But the cool thing about it is I can get like 6 minutes of flight time with 5,000 milliamp batteries on this head speed. And the cool thing about this machine is like it's well planted, it's very, very stable, it's very responsive, but it's capable of doing 3D, and it flies capable of flying like really fast too. Finally, my high head speed here on this one is 2200. On my other one I have 2300, but as you can see this thing's got plenty of juice on the high head speed. Let's do a fast speed pass, you'll see how fast this thing is. I think we clocked it the other day at 130 miles an hour. We had a tailwind, but still. It's definitely probably well over 100 miles an hour right there. The cool thing about this helicopter is how precise it is. Alright, time for just the old good fashion, like Bert camera, old school, invert auto. And that's it for the SAB Goblin. Now Bobby's gonna talk to you about his whippy.
So now that you've seen the Gobbler in action, it's time to see some American muscle. I give you the Whiplash, or the Whip-de-doo. I don't like Whippy, that's a bad name, but I like Whip-de-doo. Whip-de-doo's cool. Anywho, this one was designed by myself and Chris Lund over at Big Sky CNC. This past year, we designed it electric, nitro, and gasoline based on the same head and tail. The mechanics and everything are different. So this one's the flybarless electric, so let's have a look. Brought to you by Miniature Aircraft. So we'll start with the head. The head is, this is our flybarless only head. We built in the follower arms into the head block, just using simple pitch links and stuff. It's actually very similar parts to the Fury 55 here. So if you own one of those or Furion 6, you'll notice many similar parts. Blade grips are real simple. You know, we got the pitch arms built right in. Blade grips are the same for flybar or flybarless, so if you want to run a flybar, you can certainly run that. Once again, same head and tail and main gear and skids and lots of stuff on the electric, nitro, and gas. So next we come down to the servos. Here I've actually played around with mine. I flipped mine upside down and added some longer links just for fun and testing, and it didn't make a difference. But we got direct drive right up to the swash. I'm a huge fan of direct drive because it's way less bell cranks and way less things to mess with. I'm not a big fan of bell cranks, so direct drive is really the way to go here. Once again, same layout, flybar and flybarless. Next we'll move on to probably the most unique part of the Whiplash, and that's the auto rotation in the drive unit. What we did was we decided to put the auto rotation on the pinion side because we've seen a lot of them fail inside the housings on the main gear side. So if you look at it, the main gear is bolted to the main shaft. You can't turn it at all. It's just physically clamped. If you look below here, cameraman, on the main gear mount, it's just bolt right to the main shaft. Can't even move it. So what we did was on the motor side, there's a big cup that you clamp right onto the shaft, and then that has your sprag bearing in it and your pinion freewheels inside of that. There's also a counter bearing right down in here, which supports the other end of the motor shaft. If you want to come on this side, you can see it right here. We got a counter bearing, motor mount, and once again, the motor mount mounts right to the main shaft bearing block on the top here. So everything's really, really rigid. Everything's absolutely rigid. I've never ever stripped a main gear on this model, ever. Never done that. So next, moving on to the frame, we've got our breakaway canopy posts. Big fan of those, you know, snap a canopy off, no big deal. Batteries slide in from the back. I'm using the long configuration packs. They're the same price. They're just as easy to find, and they work real well. Slide them up front, plug the battery in, call it a day. Speed controller but can be mounted here or up front. Since I'm running a BEC, speed controller mounts up here, and everything's just wonderful. Everything mounts up and it balances just fine and no issues. So as we move on to the tail, you can see it's unlike the Goblin, this one's driven by a torque tube. So we've got our input gear here and the tail shaft gear here. So let's call this A gear and a B gear. And up front, we've got the same gears. So this is the A gear here, and the B gear goes on the vertical jack shaft here, with one simple gear running off of the main drive gear. So there's no secondary tail drive gear. Everything's just super, super easy when it comes time to fixing stuff. So if you smash it right on the tail and strip it, it's perfect. It's very, very easy to fix. Another thing that I'd really like to add, actually, that we get a lot of compliments on, is our boom support ends. They are pre-glued and at the factory with a very, very, very special epoxy. And on the nitro, the electric, and on the gasoline, I've never, ever, ever had an end come loose. So for those of you who even have a T-Rex 700 or any other helicopter where they always come loose and wallow out and stuff, you can run these guys. They're 4mm ends, so check it out. Very simple torque tube system in here. The torque tube ends actually screw on to the torque tube by 3 bolts on each side. So I'm still running original prototype ends, and whenever I doink it, you buy your $6 the straight aluminum shaft, you reuse your bearings, you reuse the Dover end couplers, slide the old ends on the end, screw them in tight, good to go. So very cheap torque tube system. And then here we just got very simple two radial bearings, 1 thrust bearing back here in the blade grips. Very simple tail shaft. Everything's just really simple. I tried to make it as easily, you can fly the crap out of it when you smash it in. It's not going to break the bank when you crash it and whatnot. Yes, let's see. Last few features, the skids. They're independent skid systems. They just snap right off. They just are held on by 1 bolt, and then they're keyed into the frame with a little plastic nub. You can see those. So it's good. I always tend to crash on the right side and the left side or something. So whenever you doink it, you can just fix the ones that you need to. And these are sold, I think, as a pack of 2 or something. So that's the Whiplash electric. Here we've got canopy, painted by the Canamod guys over there in Thailand. They do a great job. Here's the stock. Vietnam. Sorry. This is the production scheme that comes on there, and you can surely hit up Canamod and they'll paint you another scheme if you want. I'm also flying this one with the 18MZ from Futaba. Ooh, check this out. This is the best part of this model. Hold on, let me make sure we're on the right model here. Hold on. So I'm going to go to my different model, and let me show you why I like this helicopter model so much in this radio. So we go here to the whip-de-doo. The name was made by the illustrious chicken wing, and we've got the chicken wing. Whenever I'm about to fly, I see that face on the whip-de-doo. Tell me you're not motivated when you see that. All right, let's put a battery in it and we'll go fly it. Okay, now we have the illustrious Whiplash in action, ready to go. Big canopy, big oversized helicopter, so let's check it out. So this is the first flight that I've had on it with a canopy since the blowout, when I blew it out, when I crashed. All right, so I like this thing because it's smooth, it's quiet, it's very big in the air, it flies nice, it's simple, it's just cool. So this is an 1800 head speed. So this thing, kind of like the Goblin, we made a relatively high gear ratio on the tail. It's just, so you can fly at a lower head speed. I think this, like I said, 1800, 1850. This is smooth, it's nice. It's got good power, even at 1800. So we'll crank it up into 2150 and we'll check it out. 2150. Yeah. And I like it too because when I go fly my nitro, you know, if I feel like flying the electric more than the nitro, that's fine. If I have an issue or something stupid, I can always swap out parts, which is really, really convenient. And it flies great. Let's put it in some forward flight. It's freaking fast too. Lots of power. Very simple, rugged. Very big in the air. So this is the Whiplash Electric. Feel free to check out YouTube videos for both Bert and my flights from his Goblin and my Whiplash. We both like the machines. That's what we're currently flying. So, the whip-de-doo! And the 18MZ with Ray's picture on it. So thank you all for watching episode number 21.
Yep, thank you for watching 21.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We talked about a lot of different things we didn't talk about the first time we did electrics.
It's grown. It's grown so much more.
Electrics are getting more and more popular too.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of new models being anticipated. And Compass is also making a nice 90.
Compass. Curtis did the Ballistic.
Yep.
Brave Ballistic.
Yep.
There's
Charlie's about to release his new model.
The Rush.
The Rush.
There's a Diablo.
The Diablo.
There's
the Shape.
There's lots of new ones out there. Just
Logo is releasing their Extreme, which is technically not a 700, but you know,
same thing.
Bigger, same thing, big helicopter.
There's lots.
Outrage will have a 90. The Goblin, the Whiplash.
There's a lot
of course, the good old line
Raptor.
700, Raptor. I mean, there's just so many of them.
There's tons.
So yeah, hope this was useful, and
definitely
we'll have some pretty good surprises for season 3.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I think so.
Yeah.
There will be a future episode coming, and I guess soon about the lipos and chargers.
Yeah,
and
we'll do an
connectors.
episode
That'll
about
be soon.
about charging and lipos, and we'll talk about everything that has to do with them, from wire gauges to connectors to everything. So
exactly.
Yeah. See you guys later.
See ya. So Bert and I have been discussing the pros and the cons of having a direct drivetrain, meaning the motor drives the pinion, drives the main gear, and then you go fly, whatever. Or a two-stage gearing between the belt and whatnot. But there's too many ways to explain it, so we decided we'd do what we do best, and that's argue with each other. So we give you the direct drive versus the two-stage gearing. Fight! Dude, your freaking two-stage gearing is so dumb. Lots of freaking parts and belts and pulleys. It's stupid.
You're stupid. The stage gear system never strips.
Yeah, okay.
You have to replace your gears every time you bail out of an auto because it strips.
Really? Oh, that's if we're using Chinese-made molded plastic, which no one knows how to properly make and properly.
What are you talking about? Everybody uses
stuff.
Chinese cheap molded plastic.
Except the
You
helicopters
can't run
made
a
in the
high like
USA.
Governor Mode gain, like Governor gain on Castle because you'll strip your gear right off.
That's
I won't.
right. I remember how you set the gear mesh and the governor gain in a T-Rex 700. You spool it up and you turn the governor gain up. When it strips the gear, you turn it down and you're done.
Why would you? You can't even run any motors other than like a freaking 500 to 520 kV motor. I can run anything from a 400 to a 1000 kV motor.
I'm gonna have this pulley and that pulley and a belt the size of West Mississippi and freaking adjust the tension.
I don't have to worry about this stupid gear mesh.
I'm gonna preset the gear mesh and I'm just gonna fly.
I don't have to worry about the gear mesh.
It's easy.
I can just tighten the belt
You
and
are
I'm done.
so
Go fly.
ignorant. You are so
Easy.
ignorant.
You're so stupid.
ignorant. Give Tim Skinnard his design back with the razor.
Why would you have to like set up this like mesh and like, oh, do you have any backlash?
It's
Screw
very
all
simple.
that. Just
it's very simple.
pull the motor out.
If you're an idiot, you take the piece of
tighten
paper,
the belt,
you
and you're
take a
done.
piece of
Tighten the belt
paper,
and you're done.
you
It's
put it
easy.
in,
No,
and you tighten it
that's
with a little
stupid.
piece of
That's
paper.
stupid. That's
It's
stupid.
very simple. You
That's
can have
stupid.
helical gears.
My
you can
helicopter's
have-
smooth. Your
you can
helicopter
have
makes a lot of noise. You have a lot of gear noise.
Oh, you
Why?
mean your Fusion
Why?
50?
No,
yeah,
no,
that's
no.
nice and smooth.
That's
huh?
a one gear system. The Goblin is smooth. Why do you want to have like a pinion that
perfect.
makes all kinds of noise and it strips? It
It's
strips
good.
all the time.
How about the herringbone? Oh, that's smooth.
herringbone?
Does that strip?
Do you have a herringbone?
No.
So what's the point of the
You
argument?
can get helical, you can get straight cut.
You're
It's cheap.
stupid.
It's cheap. There's way less parts. It's just easier. You and your two-stage gearing, you know what? It's just you and your two-stage.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck! I'm sick of this shit. You've been arguing for an hour. Both of you right. End the story. Shut the fuck up.
Shut up, chicken wing. This is our argument. Don't get in the middle of it.
Shut up.
I swear, one of these days, one of these days, wing, I'm just gonna come over to your house. I'm gonna freaking.
Beat him up, peanuts.
No.
George is coming. That is a fun shit, though. I'm going to see the wing in action. Done.
Get rid of the cigarette. Get rid of the cigarette. You can't smoke and fly. Toss it. Get rid of the cigarette.
I can do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Jamora, how's the sim treating you? Did you just crash?
Yeah.
You crash a lot
Oh, here you.
on the sim?
And if it doesn't show up today, we'll have stuff tomorrow, but it's supposed to show up today.
We'll see some hot dogging.
Thanks.
Right here, bitch.
Out there, you can use various governors with the V-bar governor, which. Oh, okay. Hold on. Here we go. No.
For you V-bar users.
Right. Look at his signature. What the heck is that?
On the 700 they used to die.
It's just a bunch of lines. It's not even a signature.
What the fuck are you doing? Shut up, bitch.
He's setting himself up. There you go. The gobbler. The gobbler. All right, let's do this. Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
Eat him up, yum yum. Eat him up. Eat him up, yum yum. This is crazy.
That should be the beginning of the episode.
Be backwards again.
I fuck that up every fucking time. Fucking retard, bitch.
Oh, hell, let's go into the golf course.
All right, you're good, right?
Ow, ow. I fucked it up.
You had it. You're over the power lines.
Bring it close.
Are we in frame?
It's beautiful. You look very dark.
I am dark.
That much.
How was it? That's stupid. I just looked away for like 1 second.
You looked away? Ray, how'd you like that?
That much. I would have had that much room, I would have made it.
You crashed the
That little fucking anthill fucked me up.
Opinion? Yes.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Yes. The
This is
greatness
opinion.
of Constipated.
Yes.
Mr. Constipated.
This is opinion.
And your freaking Arizona shit shows up on the camera, you asshole. Look at it.
I'll edit it. It's been there the whole time. Why
No,
didn't
you
see
just
that?
put it in for this segment.